Day 21. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 3 weeks, and in the last 24 hours, this case took several dramatic turns. A new ransom demand, this one described as highly sophisticated. President Trump weighing in, criticizing how investigators are handling the search. And this morning, major activity at Nancy's home as authorities closed down the street. Here's everything that happened. For those just joining, Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, vanished from her Tucson, Arizona home on February 1st, 2026. Investigators believe she was forcibly taken in the middle of the night. Doorbell camera footage captured a masked figure outside her home. Blood matching Nancy's DNA was found on her porch. And for 21 days, her family has been living a nightmare. But this weekend brought new developments. Before we dive into these updates, make sure you're subscribed to Forensic Disconnect. We're covering every major development in this case as it unfolds. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss critical updates. Now, let's talk about what happened in the last 24 hours. TMZ reported yesterday that they received a new ransom demand. And this one is different. According to their report, the email contains what they're calling a highly sophisticated demand involving cryptocurrency. But here's what's significant. This isn't Bitcoin. The previous ransom note, sent days after Nancy's disappearance, demanded $6 million in Bitcoin with a deadline that passed on February 9th. This new demand, according to TMZ, involves a different cryptocurrency. They haven't specified which one. The email reportedly contains graphic descriptions of what will happen if the ransom isn't paid. TMZ stated the language is far more detailed and threatening than the first note. The dollar amount is similar to the original $6 million demand. But the technical sophistication of this communication has raised concerns among investigators. Here's why this matters. In early February, authorities arrested a 42-year-old California man named Derek Colella for sending fake ransom texts to the Guthrie family. He admitted to pulling family information from a cyber website and sending texts asking if they'd gotten the Bitcoin payment. He was trying to see if the family would respond. The FBI made it clear they will investigate and hold accountable anyone trying to profit from this situation. So the question everyone's asking, is this new ransom legitimate? Is it from Nancy's actual kidnapper? Or is it another imposter trying to exploit a family in crisis? Authorities haven't confirmed the authenticity of this latest demand. They're analyzing it. But the fact that TMZ is describing it as highly sophisticated, involving a different cryptocurrency with graphic threats, suggests this one might be more credible than previous fake attempts. Now here's where President Trump enters the picture. On Thursday, while aboard Air Force One, President Trump was asked about the Nancy Guthrie case. His response focused on one specific investigative technique that's been made public: pacemaker tracking. Nancy Guthrie has a pacemaker. It's connected to her phone via Bluetooth. At approximately 2:30 a.m. on February 1st, about 45 minutes after her doorbell camera disconnected, her pacemaker also disconnected from her phone. Investigators have been working with the pacemaker manufacturer to try to locate the device. They've deployed a helicopter equipped with an FBI Bluetooth sniffer that can detect pacemaker signals from the air. This technology could theoretically locate Nancy if her pacemaker is still active and within range. But President Trump criticized the public disclosure of this tactic. Quote, "I didn't like when they talked about going after the pacemaker before they even started going after it." Trump explained his concern this way. Quote, "If in fact they could do it that way, the person would say, 'Well, I'm not going to let that happen.'" In other words, the president believes that by announcing publicly they were tracking the pacemaker, investigators may have tipped off the kidnapper. And if the kidnapper heard that law enforcement could track Nancy through her pacemaker, he might destroy the device, or worse. Trump called the situation so crazy, so bad. It's a valid concern. In high-stakes investigations like kidnappings, law enforcement typically keeps certain tactics secret precisely to avoid alerting suspects. The question is whether revealing the pacemaker tracking method publicly was strategic or a mistake. Pima County Sheriff Nanos hasn't responded to Trump's criticism. But the sheriff did tell NBC News on Friday, quote, "Our focus is on this investigation and serving the victims and this community. Internal or political commentary distracts from this active investigation." This morning, Saturday, February 21st, day 21, residents near Nancy Guthrie's home woke up to major activity. Angelica Carrillo of the Pima County Sheriff's Office announced that the roadway in front of Nancy's house was being turned into a one-way street. Quote, "This morning we need space to get the trucks in and barricades in. the Pima County Department of Transportation listed temporary changes to the roadway to accommodate residents and public service vehicles. What does this mean? It suggests investigators are conducting a significant operation at or near Nancy's property, possibly a large-scale search, possibly evidence collection requiring heavy equipment, possibly setting up for a press conference or major announcement. The fact that they need trucks and barricades indicates this isn't routine. Something is happening. As of now, authorities haven't explained what this activity entails, but the timing is notable. Day 21, 3 weeks to the day since Nancy vanished. Sheriff Chris Nanos made another statement Friday that offers a glimmer of hope. He told NBC News that investigators believe they're getting closer to identifying some of the articles of clothing worn by the masked man in the doorbell camera footage. This is significant. The suspect was wearing several distinctive items: a black 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker Pack backpack, gloves that matched a pair found 2 miles from Nancy's home, and a unique gun holster positioned between his legs, an unusual placement that immediately caught investigators' attention. The FBI has been showing photographs of this holster to gun shop owners throughout Tucson and surrounding areas. They've compiled a list of approximately 24 photos of various items connected to the case. They're asking, do you recognize this? Have you sold this type of holster recently? Do you remember anyone purchasing one? If that holster was purchased locally, there could be a paper trail, credit card records, security footage from the store, a name. Sheriff Nanos said investigators are also analyzing surveillance footage submitted by neighbors. They're reviewing video from properties near Nancy's home, looking for any glimpse of a vehicle, any additional footage of the suspect, anything that could provide a lead. And they're cross-referencing everything: timestamps, cell phone location data, vehicle movements. It's painstaking work. But according to the sheriff, they're making progress on the clothing identification. Meanwhile, the investigation continues on multiple fronts. The FBI announced that personnel are being rotated through the command post in Tucson to keep fresh eyes on the evidence. Some 400 investigators, FBI agents, and Pima County Sheriff's deputies are still working this case around the clock. The FBI is continuing analysis of cell phone data, video, and interviews. They're working with technology companies like Google, Meta, and Apple to retrieve any additional footage from Nancy's security system. Here's a challenge they're facing. The doorbell camera footage showing the masked suspect is the only video Google has been able to recover so far. There are additional cameras on Nancy's property. Engineers are working through the back end of her security system, trying to recover usable video. Sheriff Nanos described it like peeling layers of paint. You want to get to a specific layer without damaging it. It's a delicate technical process, but investigators are hopeful they'll uncover more. And then there's the DNA. Genetic genealogy, which we covered in depth in a previous video, remains one of the most promising avenues. A glove found about 2 miles from Nancy's home contained DNA from an unknown male. That DNA was tested against the FBI's CODIS database, which contains 19 million offender profiles. No match. Which means the suspect likely doesn't have a criminal record. But partial DNA recovered from Nancy's home, believed to be a mixture of her DNA and her attackers, is being analyzed using genetic genealogy. C.C. Moore, chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs, told Today that she's extremely hopeful. Quote, "The fact that it may be a mixture to me is even more compelling because that is so common in violent crimes. We know there was some type of altercation that caused Nancy to bleed. Moore predicted that the kidnapper will be identified. Quote, it's only a matter of time. That process, building family trees from distant relatives who submitted DNA to public genealogy databases, can take weeks or months. But it has successfully identified killers in other high-profile cases. The Golden State Killer, Brian Kohberger in the Idaho murders, and investigators believe it will work here. However, there's concerning news from ABC. Law enforcement sources told ABC News that investigators are finding their best leads are coming up empty. Partial DNA is still unidentified. Technology companies haven't recovered additional video yet, and they haven't been able to associate a vehicle with Nancy's abduction. Given what ABC described as sluggish progress, sources say the investigation may soon transition. Right now, 400 investigators are assigned full-time, but that level of resources can't be sustained indefinitely without major breakthroughs. Sources told ABC that the case would likely move into a new phase with fewer dedicated resources, but a small task force focused on it long-term. The Guthrie family has been briefed on this possibility. They've been told that certain leads have not been panning out, but Sheriff Nanos was clear in his message to the family. Quote, "We're not quitting, we'll find her." The FBI has also been coordinating with Mexican authorities. Law enforcement sources confirmed to CBS News that the FBI has been in touch with the Mexican government and Mexican law enforcement regarding Nancy's disappearance. Tucson sits just 60 miles from the Mexican border. The FBI maintains dedicated border liaison agents who work with Mexican counterparts. The FBI's legal attaché office in Mexico City serves as a bridge between U.S. and Mexican authorities. And the FBI sub-office in Hermosillo, Sonora, the Mexican state that shares a border with Arizona, is particularly relevant to this case. There's currently no evidence Nancy was taken to Mexico, but border protocols are in place whether or not there's a confirmed lead. Additionally, a local organization called Madres Buscadoras de Sonora, Searching Mothers of Sonora, told CBS News they were contacted by a Guthrie family member and asked to help. The organization posted a message on social media asking for information about Nancy's whereabouts. Investigators have also confirmed they're not ruling out the possibility that multiple people were involved in Nancy's abduction. The focus has been on the masked man in the doorbell footage, but the Pima County Sheriff's Department said Friday that others may have aided him. This opens the investigation wider. Accomplices, a coordinated kidnapping, more than one suspect to identify. The reward for information leading to Nancy's safe return now stands at $2,500. The FBI is offering $100,000. And an anonymous donor contributed $100,000 to the 88 crime tip line, bringing that reward to $102,500. But here's a problem authorities are facing. Tips. Tens of thousands of them. The FBI has received more than 20,000 tips. The Pima County Sheriff's Department reports between 40,000 and 50,000 total leads when you combine local and federal agencies. Sheriff Nanos told NBC affiliate KVOA that this is the most tips their line has ever received and one of the most complex cases they've ever handled. But many of those calls aren't actionable. Cecilia Ochoa, dispatch manager for the Pima County Sheriff's Department, made a public plea. Quote, "If you're thinking about calling in a tip or a lead, I ask that you take a moment and think, is this tip viable? Is it credible? What we don't want are the opinions and the thoughts and kind of wondering if investigators are doing A, B, C, and D." The 911 center has been overwhelmed. In the first 18 days of February last year, they received 2,808 calls. This year, same period, 31,608 calls. That's an increase of nearly 11,000 calls. And investigators need people to call only with credible, specific, actionable information. Not theories, not premonitions, facts. So where does this leave us on day 21? A family still waiting, a community still searching, a mother still missing, but also new developments. A sophisticated ransom demand being analyzed, major activity at Nancy's home this morning, progress on identifying the suspect's clothing, genetic genealogy working in the background, 400 investigators refusing to give up, and a sheriff who promised Nancy's family, "We're not quitting." If you have credible information, not theories or opinions, but actual actionable information, contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900 or the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. The reward is $202,500. Nancy Guthrie's family is waiting, and somewhere evidence is building. DNA is being analyzed, clothing is being traced, video is being recovered. Science doesn't lie. And genetic genealogy has identified killers before. Day 21, 3 weeks, 504 hours. Nancy Guthrie deserves to come home, and investigators are working around the clock to make that happen. This is Forensic Disconnect. We'll continue covering this case as it develops. Subscribe for updates. Drop a comment with your thoughts. But remember, if you're going to call authorities, make sure it's credible information that could actually help bring Nancy home.